Every person needs to be perfect in life. A perfect child, perfect partner, perfect at work, perfect parents, and the list goes on. The will to be perfect in everything has secretly started another rat race. This time, people need to beat themselves in this race and constantly try to become better in whatever they're doing. Sometimes this constant trying can destroy happiness. How? Happiness is all about stability and self-acceptance, and by trying to be a better version, people often forget to appreciate what they have at present. People who chase perfection make plans for the future, which is why they often cannot be happy with the present. Stability should be the ultimate thing to chase, and one doesn't need to be perfect to achieve that, as stability is when a person learns how to get satisfied with whatever they have and enjoy the moment. What is happiness? From a philosophical perspective. Everyone tries to find happiness throughout their entire life, but sometimes people don't really understand the concept of happiness and what it feels like. Human psychology is critical and out of the grasp of human knowledge, but it can be said that happiness is a psychological condition of well-being that a person can feel when something good happens in their life. There is no exact definition of happiness, as for every person the meaning of happiness is different. Somehow, society has set some bars and definitions of happiness that people try to chase or achieve. Still, if it can be seen from a large perspective, it is understandable that the feeling of happiness does not depend on those bars. It is an emotional state when a person can feel joy, satisfaction, fulfillment, or contentment. People often try to achieve happiness through different paths, but forget to feel the emotion while going along the path. According to Lord Buddha, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. It is true enough, as happiness is when people can feel different emotions such as joy, satisfaction, or stability while going along the path. According to several bars set by society, happiness is when you achieve your career goals, or when you are able to buy an expensive piece of cloth on your own, or you can go on an expensive vacation. But the truth is completely different from this. A person can only feel the emotion or the essence of happiness if they can ignore what people think about their definition of happiness, and feel all those emotions such as joy, excitement, or satisfaction in a way that is defined by their psychology. According to the great philosopher Plato, the man who makes everything that leads to happiness depends upon himself and not upon other men, has adopted the very best plan for living happily. A person's happiness can only depend on his behaviors and perspectives on how the person can see the world and enjoy the little moments in his life. Aristotle also quoted the same thing, as according to him, happiness depends upon ourselves. Many people think that being famous can bring them happiness. On the other hand, different surveys have proven that in reality, the people who are celebrated in public or famous overseas are not actually happy with their lives. They often want to live their lives like an average citizen of a country. In several interviews, some well-known and famous people have admitted that sometimes they want to live a life where they can do whatever they want without being a news headline. So it is clear that happiness does not care about the bars set by society or what most people think. The psychological state only cares about what you feel. Why happiness is important, from a medical perspective. Not only can happiness help you to get every taste of your life, but also it can ease your life by helping you to stay fit. Some people do not give enough attention to their happiness, but medical experiments and doctors always advise giving priority to the feeling of happiness. If a person continuously chases perfectionism and does not give priority to their happiness, even a dozen pills cannot help the person live a healthy lifestyle. Happiness is the most important thing that a person needs to keep their mental health stable. Some hormones and neurochemicals are also connected with the feeling of happiness. For example, we can talk about dopamine, which is known as the feel-good hormone of the human body. Secretion of this hormone is extremely necessary to keep our body in balance, as the human body is nothing but a perfect equation of trillions of microbes, hormones, and chemicals. Not giving enough priority to being happy can restrict the secretion of this hormone, as well as the secretion of the serotonin hormone. Both of them are essential for the human body. Also, sometimes people can also feel the absence of happy feelings because of a disbalance of these hormones in the body. The human body does not stay fit on its own, as people also need to try to keep their health on track, and one of the most important ways to do it is giving enough priority to the feeling of joy or happiness. Medical experts have also proven that if a person feels confident about recovering from a serious injury or accident, or the person stays happy throughout the healing process, and the recovery process automatically gets faster. On the other hand, if a person feels depressed, has less confidence, or goes through any kind of mental trauma during the process of healing, the condition can get worse. Women are always advised, or better say prescribed, to be happy during their pregnancy, or it can harm both the mother and the child. In extreme cases, miscarriages can occur. Why is happiness important for us? Happiness is important for us as it keeps our mental health on track and helps us to manage our stress. It is not necessary to mention how stress can affect the bodily function and cause serious health issues such as diabetes, blood pressure, etc. So stress management is also important. The feeling of happiness is something that can help people to lead a healthy lifestyle and be satisfied with it. Not only that, but it can also help people solve different complex situations in their lives, as happiness can improve a person's problem-solving ability and balance between different commitments and responsibilities. Happiness is proven to help people to lead a healthy lifestyle by helping them eliminate excess fat, keep their blood pressure on track, reduce the risks of cardiovascular diseases, lower the chances of stroke, and keep their mental health on track. It is also scientifically proven that happiness and the feeling of relaxation or satisfaction can also affect a person's hormones. Not only are the happy hormones affected by the feeling, but also different other hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone can be affected by the feeling of happiness. All these hormones that get triggered by this feeling also play important roles in our body. Without them working properly, a human being cannot suffer for too long. That's why the primary step toward well-being should always be taking the initiative to make yourself happy. Extreme perfectionism and mental health. One can only achieve stable mental health if everything in the person's life is balanced, including emotions. Every person has ups and downs in their lives, but sometimes the constant effort to make things perfect can also turn the ups into downs. It affects not only a person's life, but also can affect their mental health and cause mental breakdowns if it reaches an extreme level. Before explaining further, the conception of healthy and unhealthy perfectionism should be cleared. Healthy perfectionism is when a person has great organizational skills, and the person also has high standards that the person tries to follow. One thing is that healthy perfectionism is always flexible, which means the person who follows healthy perfectionism does not experience mental breakdowns if something does not go perfectly. Talking unhealthy perfectionism is when a person constantly doubts himself or herself, even if everything is going well. Also, people who follow unhealthy perfectionism have high expectations from people who belong to their surroundings, such as the employees, parents, partners, and friends. They also want every person in their surroundings to have perfect 24/7. That is not possible. As a result, they experience mental breakdowns. People who are extreme perfectionists often fear making new mistakes. Sometimes, while trying to be perfect in everything, people can develop a condition of mental instability that is known by the term obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD. It is a medical term that is used to define the behaviors of people who continuously worry about perfectionism, even in simple matters. In this phase, people often cannot enjoy any moment, and instead of doing that, they start to point out the flaws of that moment. This medical condition is connected with maladaptive or unhealthy perfectionism, when a person becomes obsessed with the theory of perfectionism. In this phase, a person only feels satisfied when the person makes sure that everything is perfect. And these things not only work for important and big matters, but also can work for some tiny matters as well. For example, the person can be obsessed with setting the dishes on the dish rack perfectly, or keeping their wardrobe perfectly set 24/7. And if they fail to do this, they may feel extremely disappointed and depressed, and these tiny matters can also ruin their whole day. Extreme perfectionism can make people unsocialized. As the people belonging to their surroundings cannot always meet their expectations, perfectionists can start getting irritated when they come across other people. Also, the constant fear of doing anything wrong prevents them from interacting with people freely, as they fear that they will do something that will not meet the expectations of the person on the other side. This constant consciousness about themselves can push away all their friends and family members, and as a result, they become highly introverted and grow an insecurity complex. They often feel that they are not perfect for any occasion or anyone, and this insecurity can affect their personal lives, such as their relationships and other bonds, as well as their professional lives. Everyone knows about PTSD, which is a post-traumatic stress disorder. People nowadays have become more conscious of mental health issues, and that's why this phase is also known by almost everyone. This is a mental condition when people cannot get over any incident and fear experiencing the same thing again in their lives. This kind of mental stage can occur when a person goes through a traumatic incident. Talking about people who believe in extreme perfectionism often get badly affected by some simple incidents. If they feel they have done something that does not meet the bars of the definition of a person's perfection, or if they feel that people fail to meet their expectations, they can easily encounter a mental breakdown. And not only that, the person can start judging himself or herself constantly after that incident. That's why PTSD is something extreme perfectionists can encounter often, and that is the main reason why they fear doing something new, as they think they will make the mistakes again. All of the mental health conditions that are discussed here are undoubtedly enough to kill a person's happiness. If a person feels constant fear or grief, the feeling of satisfaction or fulfillment cannot get in. What is perfectionism, and how can it affect happiness? Perfectionism is when a person wants to do everything perfectly without any flaws. Simply, if a person always worries about whether everything in the surrounding is perfect or not, the state can be called extreme perfectionism. Medical studies and different surveys have shown that perfectionists are more prone to experience depression, anxiety, insecurity, and inferiority complex in their lives, as there is a constant fear that works within them that they will fail to do any work perfectly. Sometimes people also can find happiness in flaws, and it is a quality that most people have, especially those who have a stable mental condition. This behavior is known as optimism. Optimists know how they can find a ray of hope if something goes wrong, and find their happiness in different mishaps. Surveys and medical reports have described the complete scenario with a simple example. If a perfectionist sees a glass that is half full, the person will instantly start to worry about how the person can fill the glass, which means the first thing the person would notice is that the glass is half empty. On the other hand, if an optimist sees the same scenario, the person would be happy to know that the glass is half full. This applies to life as well. Psychologists have shown that perfectionism does not allow people to see the bright side and be happy thinking about whatever they have left in their lives. Rather, they often concentrate on the darker side and get worried, thinking about how they can bring some light in there. In this entire process, they forget to give enough attention to those few incidents that can bring joy to their lives, and while avoiding them, they constantly try to reach their goals. On the other hand, pride is one of the most important emotions. A person can feel the emotion when a person gets satisfied with something the person has done, or whatever the person has done is appreciated by others. But it is one of those emotions that people who chase perfectionism don't often feel, as every time they do something, they do not get genuinely satisfied with it. No matter how much they try, they cannot feel proud of their own work, which eventually can destroy their happiness, even if they deserve it. Life is full of colors and unique opportunities. Still, when it comes to perfectionists, people often avoid all those opportunities to upgrade themselves or make some changes in their lives. Sometimes this behavior toward life can also be reflected through simple things. For example, studies have shown that people who are extreme perfectionists always need to have their meals on time, no matter what is going on in their surroundings. Yes, it's a good thing to have your meals on time, and no one can deny that. But sometimes they miss several opportunities and chances to enjoy themselves because of their strict rules. Rules are made for people, and not people for rules. Though for most people it is a simple phrase, people who believe in extreme perfectionism can find the same thing complex. This behavior in life can steal several opportunities from them. This behavior in life can completely break a person's confidence and self-esteem. A lack of confidence can prevent a person from reaching the goals of life. Self-confidence, self-esteem, or extremely self-consciousness can eventually lead a person to more complex mental health issues, such as depression, especially acute depression, anxiety, hypertension, etc. These mental conditions also affect a person's central nervous system badly, as well as several other parts of the body. If a person is not feeling motivated to do anything, and also encountering panic or anxiety attacks thinking about their performance, it is high time to seek medical attention to get happiness reestablished. One thing that everyone should understand is that life itself is not perfect. And here, every person needs to come across situations that are far away from being perfect. That's the reason why people need to go with the flow, to keep their life on track, as trying to make everything perfect may not work every time. And rather than simplifying things, this perception can make things even more complex. It can affect their bonding with their work partners, friends, family members, and every close person. And that's why it's important to talk about how perfectionism can destroy happiness and what the consequences can be. Life is uncertain, and it doesn't matter how much a person tries to control the flow of life, the person can never succeed. Extreme perfectionism is a mental state when people try to control their lives and run them on their own terms and their own definition of perfection. It can be said that the meaning of happiness is different for everyone, and that's why how a person can lead life perfectly also depends on the person's perception of perfection. One thing that should always be mentioned is that avoiding extreme perfectionism doesn't mean that a person shouldn't have any skills to organize his or her life properly. Everyone wants to be perfect in life, and it is completely normal and has nothing to do with your happiness. A person can both skillfully organize their life and be happy at the same time. Perfectionism only can destroy happiness if a person lets it do that. So you don't have to worry if you are also one of those people who wants to lead a perfect life. But if you encounter random breakdowns whenever anything doesn't match your perception of perfection, it's time to work on yourself. Also, if you are noticing that you are being pessimistic over days and can only see the dark side of everything, or you're losing your confidence worrying about not being perfect, you should have a discussion on this matter with your friends or family members. Or you can talk to a psychologist on this matter so that you can see the bright side of your life and feel the happiness. Once a person stops chasing the bars, stability and relaxation step into the person's life, which are very important concepts of happiness. Once your mind is stable, you can feel all the little moments of your life that you might be avoiding now. Giving yourself enough time, nurturing your passion, and relaxing instead of chasing perfectionism are the initial steps toward happiness. And also, these are the steps that describe self-care.